Hi, my name's Stephen Leggett, and this is a warm welcome to the new VIG podcast. And I'll be introducing you to my co host, Robyn, shortly. But just before I do, let me tell you where I've come from, what I do, and then we can talk a bit later on about why we've put this show together. So, as I say, Stephen Leggett, also known as the Diabetes Destroyer. And you can fairly much tell from the tin what I do. I help people to reverse their type 2 diabetes because you can reverse it. And not just people. I spend my time helping entrepreneurs reverse their type 2 diabetes. So, Robyn, tell us a bit about what you do.
Well, I'm Robyn Harris, and my business is Wild Wellbeing. And I started this because of my own journey. So now I support people who have things like chronic conditions or unexplained symptoms. So they don't know why their body's doing what it's doing, and I help them to understand that. I help them to unpack and decode their symptoms because I know it can be quite a scary place to be, and you can feel quite out of control of your own body and what's going on. That's where I was. So I want to help people understand and how the understanding takes away a lot of the fear and concern for what's going to happen in the future.
Mm.
But
And
Stephen, tell me, you're a diabetes destroyer working specifically frequently with entrepreneurs. Why do you focus on entrepreneurs?
that's a really good question, Robyn. Uh, because I'm an entrepreneur, first and foremost. Because the reason I became an entrepreneur because I have a passion for something, and I wanted to fulfill my purpose, break away from corporate life, and help others by delivering my gift to the world. And the reason I choose to help other entrepreneurs with type 2 diabetes is because this this health condition has a way of suppressing your vitality, your passion, your the thing that made you start your business in the first place. And I believe very strongly that as we come to this life, uh, we all have a purpose and a gift that shines naturally within us. And it's an entrepreneurial function to bring that gift to the world. So type 2 diabetes, in effect, robs the world of that gift. And I want to give it back. I want passion and purpose to be front and center once again for these amazing people's lives. And that's why I focus on entrepreneurs.
And
So,
why diabetes? Why diabetes reversal? What brought you to that?
right. That's a very personal story. It's not something I'm shy at sharing, but it's my personal journey. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 2000. So that was some time ago, 25 years ago now. Uh, but I had a catalyst moment. It all started in November 2022 when my good friend Paul lost his leg through uncontrolled type 2 diabetes. That was the beginning of it, but that wasn't the catalyst moment. That happened a month later, Christmas time, December. Christmas always comes in December. And I'd just come back from mum and dad's house. We'd had a lovely Christmas meal, and it was just really nice seeing Luke opening all his presents. And and it was a lovely event. And we got home, we were sat on the sofa watching a movie, Home Alone, I think it was, and the ad break came on, and Luke turned to me and he said, "Dad, yes, Luke, Dad, your friend Paul, he had type 2 diabetes and he had his leg chopped off. When are you having yours done?" And that's a question I didn't want to have to answer as a parent. And I guess there won't be many parents who kind of look forward to answering that question either. And it really shook me awake, Robyn. It shook me into action. So, I'd had a couple of times where I reversed my type 2 diabetes with just diet and exercise. And I'd done quite well for 18 months, 2 years, a second time, but it came back. And I was determined that it wasn't going to come back this time. So I started on the diet and exercise because I knew that that bit kind of worked, and I knew I'd done that bit before, and so I was confident to start that again. But I was left with this nagging doubt that, oh my goodness, if I do the same thing, it's like that definition of madness, isn't it? That you do the same thing time and time again, expecting a different result. So I wasn't going to do that this time, but I was rather distraught, and I was saying to my wife, uh, I've done this twice now, and it's come back, and I don't want this to happen again. I want to see Luke. I want to share in his growth, in his age, in his, getting married, having kids, maybe having grandkids myself to look forward to. But I don't know. There's something missing in what I'm doing. And she said, listen, Steve, I don't know what the answer is, but the answer is in doing something different to what you've done before. She said, the girls and I are going to this mind, body, spirit fair this weekend. Why don't you come along? You might not get the answers there, but it's a different environment for you, and they might be there. Oh, woo woo stuff. I just didn't do woo woo stuff at all. It was even stepping through that door was kind of it felt quite a difficult thing to do, but she was right. The answer was in something I wasn't doing. So why not kind of give it a go and just see if, there is something there that filled that gap. So I went along, I bought my ticket, and I remember walking in there and surrounded by, crystals and people with funny medallions and, lots of glitter and angels. And oh my goodness, I've never felt so out of place anywhere in my life. But I was there and I thought, okay, safe haven first. I've grabbed myself a coffee, sit down, deep breath, and then I'll start doing my exploring. So I got my coffee in hand. Uh, there were no solo tables left, so I had to share with someone. And I looked around, and there was this chap sat at the table, with grey kind of scattergun hair. I don't know how best to describe him, and he looked, yeah, he looked a little bit like it was a surprise he came here this morning, the way he was dressed and everything. But something drew me to that table. So I took my coffee and I said, is it okay if I sat there? And he said, yeah, fine, sit down. So for some reason, and Robyn, believe me when I tell you this, I'm not somebody who tends to chat to strangers. There is another divergent story on that, and perhaps we'll touch on that in one of our episodes. But it wasn't in my nature to just chat to strangers. But for some reason, I felt compelled to tell him my story. So I told him about my type 2 diabetes. I told him the fact that I'd given up a couple of times, and that I was here looking for perhaps what the answer is, what that missing ingredient was. And he listened to my story and he said, Stephen, I understand. And you've done so well, he said to me, with your diet and your exercise, and you reversed it twice, but it's come back. And I think well, I think why. I said, I'm really sorry, I don't. Phil. You know, you're going to have to fill in the blank for me. I don't know what the missing ingredient is. And he said, well, you know, you've changed your diet, you've changed your lifestyle somewhat, but what you've not changed is you. So if you don't change you, then every time you're faced with a trauma, with a challenge that stresses you or puts you out of your comfort zone, the you that was you will return to rote and you will return to form and function. So, in order to make this, in order to make this last, you need to change. And at the time, I just thought it was crackers. You know, lots of crackers people at Mind Body Spirit fairs. That was the me that walked in there. Uh, but I took his card out of the politeness, really. I took his card and I did walk round and, you know, had a look at what was going on, and it wasn't for me. So I left there, but I had his card, and, you know, I thought about this over that weekend. And as much as it was so difficult for me to kind of get my head around, he was right. It felt right what he was saying. So I then started looking at. Sorry, it's a long story, this, Robyn, isn't it? But it's believe me, I can make it longer. But what he said to me was just felt so right that I started looking into energy medicine and how I could create a new me, which of course we both know, and most of the audience will know as well. You are what you think. So that's what I had to change, and I worked with Phil for 6 months or so, uh, and changed enormously in terms of my perception of the world, and the world I then chose to live in was very, very different. And I felt cured. I felt energetically, I was free of those habits and structures and those forms that, you know, as a chat generally as a child, help create the person that you become as an adult. But I was free of all this now, and I was liberated from this type 2 diabetes, and my passion for life, my passion, my purpose for my business, it was back. And I finally had control. And I thought to myself, my goodness, how many other entrepreneurs are doing this, who are trying to desperately support their families through the work they do, and to serve others and provide that gift in a meaningful way to change others' lives. And this type 2 diabetes, how much does it take that away from them and constrain their personal and business growth? I must do this. I must help others find their passion and purpose once more by reversing their type 2 diabetes. And that since then, that's how my business was formed.
Yeah, such an inspiring story. I love that you took a very challenging situation and turned it around. So you went on your own journey and then you used that learning and that growth to then show others it's possible and I can help you to do it. I think that's amazing.
Thank you very much. And I do feel very blessed to be able to do this and offer this to other people too. Uh, it's just such a wonderful thing. So tell me a little bit about your journey and do you have a catalyst moment like that you had to walk through? I don't actually see them as catalyst moments anymore. I see them as gateway moments when you can walk through beyond who you are to who you were meant to be.
Yes, I've had several moments, I would say, over my lifetime. And I would see it, like you've just said, not as in I need to change who I am, but I need to come back to who I
Mm,
was born to be. Because I think, like you were saying earlier, we pick up all of these things as we're growing up. And from the work I do, I look at it like it's an adaptation that we make from some situation that we found really deeply, profoundly challenging. So we've adapted from perhaps a limited understanding and a limited sense of being able to fight back or to change things, to influence things, to make things different. So we feel I need to change in order to survive and get through this situation. I need to change, and my thoughts and my beliefs therefore change.
mm,
And I think of it like the spare tire on a car. Once we get a puncture, we put on that spare tire just to get us to the nearest repair center.
mm,
But we don't do that for ourselves. We take on these thoughts and beliefs to get us through a situation, but then we don't stop and review them
mm,
and think, are they just for that moment in time? Because obviously, if I've survived, they worked. So we can celebrate that.
mm,
But if I keep running that belief pattern, is it going to cause me issues further down the line?
mm,
If we drove around on a spare tire, it
mm,
would, because our car wouldn't be in balance. It would start developing all these little knocks and niggles. And it's the same for our body. And I think I came to the point through a lot of synchronicities, like yourself meeting with Phil at that
mm,
Mind Body Spirit show, where things just, I don't know whether we put out a call to the universe saying, I don't want to live like this anymore.
mm,
I want my life to be something bigger, something more fulfilling.
mm,
And the universe responds. And so I had a series of synchronicities. I met some amazing people. I read, I'm a bookworm. So the right books just seemed to come to me at the right time.
yeah.
And have you ever had a situation where you read a line in a book and you just have to stop?
Mm,
Because that line has such profound impact that you can't take it in.
mm,
You have to reread it and meditate on it because you know there is such richness just within one or two lines.
mm, mm,
And I've had that several times, and it has just been the piece of the puzzle that I've needed to make that connection to then move
mm,
to the next one.
mm,
And so I guess I've had that series of things coming together to create that deeper understanding of who I am and who I was born to be so that I can step into that. And having been on that journey, like yourself, I see people who are where I was. And where I was it felt deeply dark, hopeless, and I want to then show people there is a light. There is hope. Where you are right now, the messaging we get from society might be keeping you stuck there. It might be telling you that there is no cure, there is no way out of where you are. But I want to let people know there is.
mhm.
When we
I,
get to a deeper understanding of why the body's doing what it's doing,
yeah,
we also know what it's asking for, what it
yeah,
needs. We're like a plant. We need the right level of oxygen, of water, of nutrients, of light. Give us that, or the human equivalent, and we can thrive. Our body gets back to balance and harmony, and then it has all of these natural processes
mm,
that heal us and make us
mm.
whole once more.
Yeah, I resonate so much with that. And uh, to me, I kind of almost describe it as a when you reach that gateway moment, uh, the life, the context of your life beforehand becomes a golden thread, and it all seems to make sense, leading you to that time and that moment right now when you have that realization. And it doesn't matter how much you search for that golden thread before that moment, it will not appear because
We
that
can only
moment is
see
just
when
so
we're ready.
precious.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit more about the specifics, Robyn. What was, can you concatenate some of those moments as they appeared for you? And you talked about how a couple of sentences in a book actually catalyzes that moment for you. So share a couple of sentences with us. What were those couple of sentences for you?
There's the phrase, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. We don't see things out there as they are, we see them as we are. So it's our lenses, our filters, and they come from our thoughts and our beliefs. And Wayne Dyer said, the moment you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So it's so much about our perception, but our perception is colored by the conditioning, the situations that we live in, the people we spend our time with.
Yeah,
You become the people, the five people you spend most time with.
yeah.
So if they aren't motivated, enthusiastic,
Mm, mm,
searching, optimistic
mm,
type of people,
mm.
then we won't be either.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like those five people become your echo chamber in a way that, algorithms like Facebook, they throw
Yes.
stuff at you
Yes.
based on your pre-existing beliefs and
Your choices,
what you're
absolutely.
exactly what you're interested in. So,
Yeah.
in a way, they keep you in stasis. They keep you in the
Yes.
place where you are.
And like you say, the only way to change that is to
Yeah,
change your thinking.
yeah,
And that change hopefully leads on into action because it can't just be sitting there doing nothing and thinking nice thoughts. And I'm
yeah,
not a fan of positive thinking just for the sake of I must be positive,
yeah.
though I am a fan of looking for the best in any situation.
Yes, yes, as indeed I am as well. Uh, Listen, it's going to be a fascinating series we're about to do. I hope people will stick with us. And, in the show notes, if people do want to understand a little bit more about what we do outside of this conversational podcast we're running, then, they can look us up and see where we show up on social media and see how to get in contact if there's something that resonates and something that people want to look into further. So, thank you very much so far. And so far, thank you very much. It's a good introduction to what we do. And hopefully, there's enough there for people to say, this could be quite an interesting conversation that these two people are going to have. And then, they can come and join us and not only listen, but later on, I hope that we'll be able to introduce others to this conversation too. So for the moment, thanks very much, Robyn, and I'll speak to you very soon.
It's been great, Stephen, and thank you so much, everybody who has watched this this episode, I guess. And we hope that you will join us again for our next one coming soon.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.